Okay, we're live.
Okay. Good evening. Let us begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral, present, and future territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Today, we gather with the intent followed by the Living Peace and Friendship Treaties, with respect, cooperation, and coexistence. We are all treaty people. I call this meeting of Town Council to order. It is May 28th, 2026. I will start by asking for approval of the agenda. Are there any additions? No? Okay. Councillor, thank you. It's approved. We will move on to the acceptance of the minutes.
I just had a question. It's not a change,
Okay.
but do we have any update about the Aradak conversations, intermunicipal conversations? It's in the minutes that the
Yes.
intention is there, but I just wonder if there has been any.
Any
Was this
further
when you
action?
want to put it on the agenda?
Pardon?
Do you want to put it on the agenda?
Oh, well, I was just responding to it because it was in the minutes. If that's.
I don't really have anything to
Any
add.
update?
Yeah, the last thing on there is that we would send correspondence that advise the members from the municipalities as to our eventual position, right? So I haven't heard anything back since then.
Okay,
All right.
so perhaps it could be on the future agenda, whatever action is followed up on. Thank you.
Okay. All right. You don't want to put it on this agenda?
No,
No?
I was
Okay.
just raising that as a matter arising out of the
Okay.
minutes. Is that permitted?
Yep. I guess, yes. But we will then accept the minutes, with no corrections. We will move on to announcements by council members, and we'll start with Councillor Kevin Boone, who has brought some special people to our meeting this evening.
Yes, I would like to introduce you to the Cullicott family from Mahone Bay, or close by Mahone Bay, and they are are leading the Seize the Day event that's coming up at the Salt Fox Brewery on June 6th. And I'll let Sam and Carolyn maybe just talk to you a little bit about the event and just.
Sam's gonna go first, and
All right.
probably answer any questions you have.
Yep.
Okay.
Feel free to stand, Sam.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My wife Carolyn, daughter Jamie, and Jennifer. And we represent the Seize the Day Walk and Run. It's a fourth annual event. And this is to raise awareness and to raise some money for the Epilepsy Association of the Maritimes. And this is our fourth year, and a little bit of history, reason why we're doing this. When Jamie was 18 months old, she was diagnosed with epilepsy, and so we've been dealing with that ever since. And the Epilepsy Association of the Maritimes has been extremely helpful with the journey that we've had with that. So I've been running for all my life, and I've attended many running events where they raise money for charity. And just past 4 years ago, talking with Patrick Jardine from the Salt Box, and we decided to do something. And so we started then to form how we were going to do this. And so that's where we're at today. And so what we are doing is a 3-kilometer walk and a 5-kilometer run. And it starts at 10 a.m. for registration. The walk and run will start at 11 a.m. And then when the walkers and runners return, we'll have music going on there. We're going to have presentations. And we also have some items that we're going to have a silent auction on. And myself and a couple other individuals, we have built 2 purple, the shade of purple, pine Adirondack chairs that we're going to raffle off with that as well. And so what we're here for tonight is just to let you all know what we're doing. And we'd like to invite the mayor and the council to attend. And if you want to walk, you want to run, you just want to show up and support the event. Registration at 10, walking and running at 11, and then when they get back, probably 11:45, 12, we'll be having the music and everything going on from there. Saturday, June 6th, held at the Saltbox. Anything else?
The only trivia was Michelle,
Oh,
from
yes.
3 to 5.
Right. After that, from 3 to 5, there's a trivia going on there.
Oh,
Great.
yes, okay. That's right.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing more about this, and I know, Counselor Boone has been very active
Mhm.
promoting this,
Very
and, we thank, Kevin, you for, bringing this to our attention.
Sure.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Oh, and for the silent auction items,
Yes.
it's items that we collected off of Main Street.
Oh, nice,
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
So,
Great idea.
So,
Yeah.
Okay,
thanks to all.
thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is our regular council, announcements. So, Councillor Feeney, you said you would like to make an announcement.
Mayor, I just wanted to bring to council's attention this morning, I was disappointed to see the death announcement for Mahone Bay native and, longtime resident Kendall Eisner. Of course, he and his brother Daryl and the family grew up on Orchard Street. And Kendall was the manager of the pharmacy in Mahone Bay for 28 years, kind of an omnipresent individual for most of the town for many decades. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to let everybody know that announcement's been formalized on the street today.
Right, a classmate of my husband.
Hmm.
Yeah. So our sympathies to the family, for sure. Thank you for that. Councillor Pulverman, do you want to do the garden tour? Or
Sure.
again, you're a great
Sure.
cheerleader for them.
Sure, yes. So yes, the Home and Garden Tour for fundraiser for the Mahone Bay Museum is on June 13th to 14th. Excellent houses to visit and gardens. Volunteers from the board, from the council here assisting. And I'm executive director of advice. So, ex officio. In any event, tickets are available still. More details on the homebaymuseum.com website. And I don't know if that's coming through. Yeah, I can see it there. Just
Go back just a little bit. There you go.
yeah, back like so.
There you go.
Okay, there we are. So good events.
For sure, for sure. Thank you.
Your worship, I also have.
Oh, yes, Councillor Carver.
Yes, I just would like to let people know that next week, starting May 31st to June 6th is the Access Awareness Week in Nova Scotia. So accessibility is the issue there, and very much related to the issue and the cause that we've just heard about, although not perhaps quite so colorful. The issue is about accessibility as a human right, and Nova Scotia has the highest rate of disability in the country. So we have the Accessibility Advisory Committee, Lunenburg County, with representatives from all our 5 municipalities, as you know. And they are hosting a panel next week with First Voices on Wednesday afternoon at the Modal Council Chambers. And it's being held there partly because they have the capacity for to microphone people's speech. And as you know, I have a disability, which is a hearing disability. And I'm saying that deliberately to let people know that there are disabilities in this room, as well as everywhere throughout the community. And it does make it a lot easier to hear people's speech when it's mic'd. So if you're interested, I can give you more information about the panel next week at the Modal Council Chambers, where there'll be First Voices in the panel.
Is there a flag raising for that?
That I don't know if we have a flag. I think it was, might have been on the list of.
I think it is on the
Recurring
list.
flags, so.
Stay tuned for the flag raising event. Counselor?
Yes, first of all, I want to apologize. I should have brought this up during the agenda discussion. But I'm wondering if it would be possible to move item number 8.1 to the head of the pack out of deference to our guests who are going to be really moderating that discussion.
Okay.
You probably don't want to sit in on this scintillating talk.
Come on.
Yes,
Is that possible?
yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
All right, just,
Effective number 5 then, right up to the top, or?
we'll put, we have no public input, I don't think, or presentations, so we'll do it before correspondence. Okay, great. I was thinking the same thing when I arrived here today. I just have a few, just to thank those who helped with the International Peace Run. It was a really successful day, and it was wonderful to be up at Bayview and seeing the children taking part, and all those students sitting so just so engaged in everything that was taking place. And some did go and run with the torch on the soccer field following, and then that group of people joined us at the bandstand for another program. So they overnighted here and had a dinner on us, and it was really wonderful to see the enthusiasm and the work that they're doing to promote peace. And we really need it right now in our world. It's, they're difficult times right now. So it was very timely. I want to let you know also that today, 3 of us attended a round table put on by SODA, and they were talking about the new shelter that's opening soon in Bridgewater, but it will service all of Lunenburg County and Queens. And we hope to have roundtable conversations with the group that was there, and we're thinking on a monthly basis. Not quite sure how that will really be etched in stone, but there is going to be more communications. The new minister of social development was in attendance because she had already planned to be there, so she joined us, which was very nice to have her there. Her first full day on the job as minister, and she was present. So stay tuned for more information. We'll be bringing updates along with the regular report we do get from SODA anyway, which I always find interesting to take a look at each month. This year, we are going to be celebrating German Settlers Day, and we are going to have our first flag raising, although way back when Michael Baker was the MLA for Lunenburg, he had this legislation brought to the legislature, and it has been proclaimed, but I think it's only been done at the legislature and in Halifax. Lunenburg celebrates that day as their birthday, June 7th. We're going to raise our flag on June 5th because it's the closest day to June 6th. So at high noon, Ann Palferman, who is the president of the Mahone Bay Museum, is going to be our flag raiser. She has graciously accepted that, and I think you'll see members of the museum board there and friends of the museum come along. It's a new way to open the season for them, and it will give them some time to talk about their garden tour as well while we're there, and some of their summer activities, and why people should come to the museum. And I always say play tourists in your own town, because there's so many things that we miss ourselves because we're off doing things, and please take time to play tourists in town. And you can do it over the summer, or you can take the odd afternoon or morning and just go around and visit the different shops and eateries and other places, poke your head in and say hello, or take part in one of their activities. So that is going to be on June 5th. So that's about all mine. Anybody else have anything they wanted to announce? No? Okay, so we will move on to our item 8.1. And I think Councillor Wilson, you're going to lead this. And we welcome Garth and Emily to our table. They're from the Development Office at Chester, but they work with us at our PAC committee. And we see Emily here most Thursday afternoon. She's on duty here at Town Hall, and she's always a familiar face for us and a great part of our town vibe. So, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Not a lot to say. The PAC has spent a fair amount of time going through the document you have in front of you. It represents a large, I guess, collection of minor and sometimes major messes that were created when we collectively did the new land use bylaw. And this is an attempt to fix up some of those problems. And I guess the best thing I say is it's a very large body of work, and these guys are responsible for the bulk of it. And so I'm going to turn it over to Emily and say, carry on.
I think we probably don't have time to go through everything, as Councillor Wilson said. It took two very successful but lengthy PAC meetings to get through the entire package here. So, we're certainly open to answer any questions if there's any particular items. We could try to touch on some of the large ones, but like Councillor Wilson said, there's such we're from one end of the document to the other in terms of the changes, from adding definitions to making some minor adjustments to. So in some cases, there were things that weren't working the way they were intended. So the changes are aimed at making those function the way they were intended. In other cases, there were a few provisions that were decided to be removed, like some of the tree protection. That was one section that was after lots of discussion back and forth was recommended to be pulled out. And then there are some additions and just a variety of things. Most of these came from our development officers, who are the ones who work with the documents on a daily basis and are evaluating permit applications. And despite this might look like a long list for a new document, but I can tell you this in my experience, whether writing documents in house for Chester or working through consultants, as we did here with the town, it always happens. It's no fault to the authors. It's just sometimes these things you have to start using them until you find some of these, like I said, little changes and tweaks. So I guess maybe. Are there any particular items that any councillors noted or would like to delve deeper into?
Councillor Falconer.
I don't have any further changes, simply that I was on the Planning Advisory Committee that went through this document. I'm quite satisfied with the proposed clarifications, if you will. The tree thing is just a plainly problematic thing to have in this particular document. And that's the reason for change there. Otherwise, I'm quite satisfied with the changes, and I think it helps the process.
Mayor, just a question, maybe Councillor Palfreyman could add a little context, because I know there was a discussion at the HAC based on the minutes of the HAC around the issue around the architectural control zone and the potential addition now excluded of vinyl siding. I'm just wondering, I see that, I think in this document, it's saying that within the architectural control zone, vinyl siding will be allowed. Is that an accurate reading, Garth, of how I should interpret that, or not?
You want to tell us what item
That is item 5.6.1.
5.61?
Just the addition of item F.
Right. I believe from my notes that was a recommendation, like a staff recommendation. Yeah. But after discussion at PAC was recommending against. So it would be to leave it as is so vinyl siding would not be permitted, just to be clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as I see the vinyl siding shaded in red, is that status quo with the existing bylaw? I think it is, isn't it?
If it's red, it was an addition from us. If it's red and crossed out, that means it was there, but it was going to.
Right, so it was a proposed addition, vinyl siding.
And PAC is recommended to not include. it.
PAC is recommended
So-
to.
Okay, I guess cutting to the chase, is item F, vinyl siding, is vinyl siding going to be excluded or permitted?
Exclude.
Okay.
But that's the PAC
That-
recommendation.
Okay, fair enough. And the only other question, I think we went around the mulberry bush about, talking about the original aspirational objectives between the tree protection clauses, which I think now but I'm assuming is in the practical reality of how people interact with the bylaw, that's problematic. And at this time, you're saying, like, find another way to get at that problem. If it is indeed a problem, we'll see.
Yeah, that would be our recommendation. And unfortunately, Heather, development officer, is away at a conference today. She can speak probably the best to this, because again, they've dealt with this. And essentially, to paraphrase what I've heard her say, it is an impediment, or it penalizes people that it shouldn't. And then it, in some cases, incentivizes people to cut every tree down and work around it.
Yeah,
before
no,
they-
fair enough.
So it basically just wasn't working the way,
Okay.
and our perspective is that the land use bylaw isn't, even down to the enforcement mechanisms that we use in the land use bylaw, it's not the appropriate tool if the objective is to maintain particular trees or particular categories of trees, that kind of
I
thing.
think it's been well discussed.
Yeah, and on that note, I just want to point out, we had the benefit of PAC talking about it over 2 meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
So they made a recommendation to the
Yeah.
council in the first meeting that was withdrawn, and then they went and talked about it again at the next meeting,
Right.
and effectively have determined to send this recommendation as it is through,
Yeah.
regardless of what other decisions are made as far as the regulation of tree retention.
Okay.
The committee still feels this is not the right instrument and should be removed, is not effective, and so that was actually kind of an advantage to have the
Yes.
meeting and then council's discussion and then the following meeting, so the committee members could get both angles considered.
Councilor McCarron.
Yes, I do see a few items that are noted up for discussion.
Mhm.
So these are still, we'll look at them later.
I think we did, those were, so this is essentially the version of the report that went to PAC.
Okay,
So so those were discussed with PAC.
And I think the ones that say up for discussion and nothing was changed, it means
Okay.
they liked it as is
Thank
and
you.
there was no changes to be made.
Okay.
Right.
There
I think there was those-
Yeah.
They're in yellow.
Yeah. okay, yeah.
Oh, Councilor Carver.
So, I left my notes at home because I got about halfway through the document writing down my questions, and then I said, there are so many items, I think we should just refer it to another session, so we don't have to go through it piece by piece here. But there may be an appetite at the table for just absorbing it home, I don't know. But I do have a question about flag lots, because it says pretty clearly here that a flag lot doesn't exist. However, on my property, which I can't remember the width, the street frontage, but it has a driveway up one side, and I believe that I could subdivide the back half of my property, which means it would only be accessible through that driveway, creating a shared driveway. And I believe that that would be a flag lot. Would it not?
Not by definition.
Oh, not by definition.
Yeah, a flag lot, by definition, the difference is the flag lot would own a small section all the way to the road, not by easement, but they would actually own the property. The pole or the staff of the flag would be the long skinny part that would usually be
I
the
see.
approved access, yeah.
Could probably do that on my property.
Yeah, and that might be possible
Make two
too.
drives, yeah.
Right.
So there could be a flag lot created in Mahone Bay on my property, in theory.
This is another one I wish we had Heather here for to speak to specifically. So the recommendation was to remove the provision on flag lots. And I believe it's because new newly created lots, and this bylaw requires minimum frontages for different types of land uses. Whereas previous bylaw didn't do that. There would be a minimum frontage that you have to have on some sort of street. And in the flag lot case, you would be going to your minimum frontage and then going back and getting it
Okay, so
creating a
there might,
bigger lot to build on. This bylaw actually has different frontage requirements for like a house versus a different kind of commercial business. And so because of that, there's no ability to create those skinny flag staffs anymore, right? That's, I hope that's relatively clear. So the essentially the recommendation is to remove flag lots as a subject, because the way that this bylaw is set up, they aren't able to be created going forward. And I believe the assertion from our development officer would be that there aren't existing lots that match that description in the town.
But it's a lot that might be flag shaped, but it's not any kind of loophole to circumvent frontage requirements. So the idea that it is different from any other shape of lot that has the required frontage is not relevant.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Not a special category of lot.
Yeah.
Just a shape like any other shape with the same minimum frontage requirements. So it doesn't require any special rules. This was the point.
But you can argue that, Councillor Carr. I would argue it too.
So I think the question is now, if Councillor Carver has a long list of questions she wants to address, how do we go about doing that? Because it's, the intent, I think, was to bring this to council and hopefully get it approved as a one size fits all document. And that clearly can't happen.
I mean, if it's a matter of talking about it at a council meeting and just not this council meeting, we have another council meeting very soon, but that council agenda will be busier than this council agenda. So, and our planners came tonight, so I'm not sure what, if it was to refer to a different meeting, I guess that would be council's consideration on holding maybe a special meeting during the day at the time the planners are available or something like that.
well, with somewhat mixed feelings about it, I recognize that at least 3, possibly 4 members of our council have been present during these discussions and are offering support for the changes in the document. I think it would have helped if there had been more of a preamble before just the document, in terms of what was expected in terms of discussion and decision making at this meeting tonight. Quite literally, by the time I had gone through maybe a third of the document, I thought, well, this is way too much to be talking about tonight in a full council meeting, and came prepared to simply recommend that it be referred to public policy and strategy or another session. But given that it's here and it sounds like the Planning Advisory Committee is asking for approval of the suggested changes. Is that the case?
Well, it is, but I would briefly caveat that this isn't going to be the only swing you get at the ball.
It won't be.
It won't be the only chance you get. This is gonna come back again, because there will be other housekeeping items. And there may be changes to this as well. We don't know that, of course. As we move.
As life goes on, it won't necessarily be this particular bundle of
It's not gonna
changes.
be etched in stone.
We'll make these changes and then we'll get an application and then Heather will say, oh, we need another certification. Yeah.
If I could just offer one maybe possible suggestion as well. The other, I think, option for council is, let's say 9 out of 10 are okay. I believe it would be at council's discretion if you'd like to pass the majority and separate 1 or 2 items for further discussion. Just as a possibility as well.
Well, thanks for the offer. I just don't have my notes at hand in order to identify which ones. So,
Yeah, I think the only risk with dropping to first reading is, of course, the way the bylaw process works. A delay of a single meeting to ensure everyone feels that everything's covered is better than the delay required if we go all the way to the hearing and then someone raises something that Councillor Carver would have raised, and then we end up going back to PAC and starting over again.
but don't we expect that if this does clear first reading this evening, like the whole process is probably going to provide, input. There will be input.
likely to be a
There's
hearing
going,
and then
yeah,
go
there's
back
going,
again. Yeah, you're right.
there's going to be hearing, and there's going to be dozens of pages of suggestions for improvements. That is absolutely going to happen. So I think we, and we've benefited historically when we just like, let's get those things in now so the team so we can get this thing inevitably approved this summer. And I guess that was, my final question around the cadence. This does have to go, this would still go to a public hearing, and then it will go to second reading before it'll come back. And
No, this isn't, this would be going to, yes, hearing is, yes, that's
This is
correct.
going-
But the hearing is the next step. There's no other
Yeah,
step.
fair.
Yes, right to the hearing from
Fair.
here. Yeah.
Fair enough. So, I mean, like, I'm prepared to support the first reading this evening, because I do think we will get feedback, and great, please, if you have feedback, like, that's what the whole process is designed to do. So
There's an
feel free to
advantage
weigh
getting
in.
First reading tonight that I think
Right.
council would still feel it appropriate to hold a hearing in June. Whereas if we were to, go a bit longer, we wouldn't be able to do a June hearing and then digest the response if there is change, and then still have time to bring it back in September. We don't usually do hearings in the midsummer months.
Yes. And just one final question, Mayor, about the when I read this, if I read this, and this is really the first day or so I've had a chance to read it, does this really preclude short-term rentals in the commercial zone? Is that what we're trying to say there in section 5.4?
No, but I can absolutely understand why it looks that way.
Okay.
Essentially, they are permitted in the commercial zone as just essentially like any other, like a motel room.
Like
that kind of
hotel-
thing.
like
So
fire-
it was just that was almost a duplication where they were twice, and it actually created a little bit of confusion as to which they should fall under. So in the
Okay.
commercial zone, they are permitted, just like a B&B unit or a hotel or something.
Okay, so if a current short-term rental owner reads this in the process, 5.4.5, short-term rentals are not permitted in the commercial zone. How do we elegantly answer and assuage their concerns?
Yeah, I certainly, and this is as with any of this or any time, feel free to direct them
Okay.
to us. You can assure them that it's a terminology change. What they're doing, the use that they're doing is not, I totally understand that, because it sounds like it is, because it's saying they're not allowed.
Okay.
It's just the way that we define them in the bylaw doesn't make sense in a commercial zone, because it's talking about how they're sort of sometimes kind of almost commercial use in the residential zone. So I get that it's a little awkward to explain.
I have complete trust.
Yeah, but I mean, tell them it's not what it looks like, and if they did want to follow up, direct them to our office, and ourselves or one of our development officers could walk them through it. And the development officers in particular could speak to the specifics of it. That's an element of cleanup in the bylaw, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, there is
I'm glad I asked.
There is a sentence that says that, but I
Okay.
can certainly see somebody just skipping that sentence and
Well.
reaching that conclusion anyway.
Counselor Wilson?
I'm just wondering I'm asking about timing here. If we were to table this until our next council meeting, so Councilor Kyra could consolidate her notes and get some bullet points of the things that really concern her, so that we could do first reading next time with those in view, or make the changes and then agree to first reading. Would that ruin the timing?
No, I mean, it's really just how late in the summer council wants to go. Like, we could have if we did that, then the hearing could be scheduled for as soon as the 24th, but realistically the 29th, because we have meetings on the 24th and 25th already. So the 29th of June is a Monday, could be a hearing night, potentially. I assume this would be a
That's
free
Parkview graduation night.
30th, maybe?
There's been a-
It could be a freestanding hearing is my assumption, rather than one attached to the council.
If I'm the only person who hasn't got all my questions answered, because I haven't got all the questions here, I'm happy to let it go ahead on the recommendation of the committee. Unless anybody else has questions that they wanted to bring up at a different time.
Yeah, I think for me, understanding the document has been the challenge, just
putting it in context, right? So it's a freaking document. And without understanding the background, like almost having like a Cole's notes, like what were the big challenges that everybody saw?
Mhm.
That was probably the question I was gonna ask at the beginning, but
That's where the yellow, when you see the yellow, those were things that
yeah,
went back to PAC.
yeah,
And we discussed and decided to leave after, like you, people starting to understand, so,
yeah.
And we said the same thing to PAC right off the bat, and even knowing a lot of those folks were part of the review process to create this document. And this kind of amendment in particular is tough because we're jumping all, like, we're not even in one section,
Yeah.
you kind of get your head there, so.
Yeah.
Completely understand. We have touched on, I would say, many of the significant amendments here tonight. Just to
Yeah.
kind of reassure you that, like, we certainly haven't talked about all of them, but many of them are just adding a word here or changing a word there. Trying to think.
Can I ask a question again? Is this a regularly scheduled process, kind of the reviewing for housekeeping?
Yeah.
Like, when would it come up again?
Yeah, so it was part of the plan review process was intended that there would be a housekeeping review within a year or two of the
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
going into effect. Other than that, it's generally a 10-year schedule for a whole plan review.
Mhm.
But housekeeping amendments can, so I to answer your question, there's no set next housekeeping review. It could come a number of ways. It could come from council hearing about a couple of things, staff, could you take a look, or something we do continually, both from Mahone Bay and Chester, is as we note things that are, even if it's just a typo on page 7, we'll put that in a spreadsheet. And so that's how this started, was as a running list, and then eventually got to a point we said, okay, we're about 2 years in and we've got lots to do here. So, but if council was interested in
Yeah.
us, that's always possible.
as things popped up, like we had the parking space in the building up on Main Street, and we had the Anglican Church needed tweaking for their permit. So
Yeah.
council can at any
Yeah,
time
okay.
take something.
And as much as we have, greatly appreciated working with our current planning team, we do know that that is something that will be changing. And the main thing that drives these housekeeping amendments is more eyes looking for more interpretations with room for more clarification.
Yes.
So I'm quite certain within a year of having a new provider, we will be
Yeah.
engaged in a similar
Yeah.
exercise.
Well, all of that being said, I'm perfectly happy for it to go ahead. I mean, essentially, a majority of council is supporting it
Mhm.
with the 4 members who are already involved, so. If I can limit my question, I'll contact Emily.
That's good.
So is it appropriate now to move to?
Are there any more questions about this document though? Like anybody else, have any pressing in Council McCarron?
So if I could just comment, having been part of the original author, I really appreciate the clarification on some of these points and the redefine, the definitions. And yeah, I think I'm happy with what you've done here. And the committee.
Can I ask when Councillor Feeney brought up the accessory dwelling one, which was 5 point, what defines an accessory dwelling? Is it a carriage house? Is it a she shed that someone decides to rent out to somebody on a short term? Is it both?
So, there's a definition for an accessory dwelling. I'm just looking. It's there first, the paper or the digital. But so essentially, while Emily's pulling it up, an accessory dwelling is, so it's a dwelling unit that's subservient to the main dwelling. But it is its own, standalone unit. The part of the discussion with these amendments was whether both short-term rentals should be allowed in accessory dwelling units. And the recommendation here was to maintain the current prohibition on accessory dwelling units being used for short-term rentals. So it would be to keep things as they are, and currently they're not allowed to be used as short-term rentals, so that the main dwelling unit that you live in.
Yeah.
Rented out. But an accessory unit, you could rent out, now, and this was another.
Is that even in the commercial zone?
No, it would be, it works differently in the commercial zone, because, yeah, the accessory dwelling, piece really is only for the residential zone.
Okay.
But it did, another, I guess, good clarification we're on that subject that came up during the PAC discussion was, so an accessory dwelling unit could be rented out on a long-term basis. And essentially that means, that was one of the things we tweaked here, was we tweaked the definition to be 28 days or more, that is aligns with the provincial definition.
Right.
We just approved a grant program to stimulate that kind of work, right?
Yeah,
Like a
yeah.
month ago, so.
Yeah, so that is, the recommendation as it sits here would be to maintain the prohibition for short-term rentals from accessory dwellings.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have a question on this document revised?
I think we should move it forward.
Okay, Council Wilson, would you like to make that motion?
The president moved that council approved first reading of the so-called housekeeping document for the land use bylaw.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Feeny, thank you. Any further discussion? You comfortable, Councillor Boone? You know, if you come across some things, just jot them down and we can send them off for answers, okay? And Emily's here next Thursday afternoon. You can always come in and talk with her.
Or we're always phone or email, or, you know, it doesn't have to, don't wait for Thursday afternoon. If you've got a pressing question, you feel free to give us a call.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, ready for the question? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you, Garth and Emily, for coming out on this showery evening.
You're welcome to stay.
Yes, certainly.
No, thank you for having us, and I appreciate you moving the agenda. That wasn't necessary, but certainly appreciate it.
No,
It's okay.
anytime. And if we ever forget when you're back here again, remind us to move you up. Okay, thank you very much. And we will go on to, back to item 6, which is correspondences. Does anyone have any questions about any of the, do we need a vote for the 6.3? With the request for the Remembrance Day flyby, which we've agreed to for the last couple of years and had no flyby.
Right.
Yeah, I guess we agreed to request it.
Yeah, yes, just,
Mary moved that we request the Remembrance Day flyby for November 11th, 2026.
so that's in the letter,
In the
correct?
letter, yeah.
I'll second that.
And seconded by Councillor Carver. Thank you. Any discussion? Questions?
Well, curious, if they didn't fly by, did anybody talk to this guy? Like,
Well, I think what happens
No.
is sometimes it's the clouds, it's
Sure.
not safe for it, or it's overcast to the point where to fly the plane, it goes all over. It does a whole route of Nova Scotia, so.
There's a few caveats in
yeah.
there.
Oh,
about
yeah.
They may need to divert the plane, there may be technical
Oh, yeah.
issues, so I think it just hasn't been good luck.
We're,
Yeah.
you know, you're just hoping you're every 5th or 6th or 7th year.
But it's very moving when it
Mm,
happens.
Certainly is.
And you can watch YouTubes of it.
Yeah.
They're very interesting to watch.
I have been to all the Remembrance Day ceremonies since I've been here. So, and I don't remember a flyby.
Yeah,
So,
we haven't had one in a while.
Very
yeah,
impressive.
so,
I think there is a YouTube video from a flyby from maybe 8 or 9 years ago.
Yes.
But it'll be really impressive with the shoreline now, I think so.
I think there has been one since I've been here, so maybe it was 8 years ago or so.
yeah.
Anyway, we're due. We'll keep writing our letter.
Yes.
One of these years it'll come true.
For sure. Okay, do we,
All in favor?
all in favor, okay? Aye, opposed, the motion is carried.
Your worship, I think 6.4
Four.
may need a motion.
Yes,
And I would move that on the recommendation of the Mahone Bay Founders Society, that Joan Parks be appointed as a member of the Heritage Advisory Committee.
second by Councillor McCarron, thank you. Any discussion? I think Joan will be a good fit for, she's very involved with the Genealogy Association as well. as the museum. Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Oh, let's see, Joe, do
I
we-
have just one other item, it's a correction.
Yes,
The 6.6, I struggled to understand the Mahone Bay Tourism and Chamber of Commerce grant for lighting installation. And when I figured it out finally, it's the Mahone Bay Tennis Club.
huh,
Ah,
yes.
was
Very close.
It took some work.
Yes, the West Mahone Bay Tennis Club, they're very pleased to receive the financial assistance. So,
I'll make a note for that too, because I was just outside, I was leaving the barn today and I ran into MJ
yes,
and we chatted and we don't know each other that well, but he just, I said, oh yeah, I saw your, letter in our minutes, and he just said, you know what, we're so appreciative of it. It was just such a big amount that's helped us to just, so anyway, it was hands-on right there, so.
yeah, great. They'll appreciate those lights because the other one, when you turn them on, the meter just, it just spin around like crazy. So
Yeah.
these are more energy efficient.
And not only did we help them with the installation, but we gave up all that revenue.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that money. Okay. Are there anybody have any other discussion?
well, there is Mr. Dupree's second letter
Mm-hmm.
in here, which obviously misunderstands some of the arrangements that are in place. I don't know whether a further letter is required, but essentially it's incorrect to state that the town is not in accordance with the financial reporting and accounting manuals. Apparently our auditors are satisfied. Our
Auditors and
Audit-
province.
yes, auditors, the province, and two CPAs on staff and on council are satisfied. Seems to me we have a reasonably good explanation of why things are as they are. Maybe it requires a letter, maybe it doesn't, but at least.
Mayor, just picking up on Council Paul Furman's point, I think it's a fair question around a misinterpretation between, the capital fund and the capital reserve. So these are kind of very technical accounting terms that are very easily interchanged amongst lay people. And so I can understand why, what the question is, why don't I see these funds in the capital reserve? Well, that's because they're in the capital fund, and there is a difference between those two entities. So, I think if council is, so that feedback or that message can be delivered either by staff directly or through a brief email or a letter. I think that clarification is probably appropriate. So, reasonable people could misinterpret the terms, and I think clarifying it to Brian's point is probably worth our while to do. I'm sure that's something that.
I'll get out my pen
So-
paper again. All right.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
no, I know-
Usually we would direct a response by motion, and you probably should do a motion to say that the response be provided. It can be that basic.
happy to second that, Brian, if you'd like to make
I'll
that.
make the motion.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And I'll second that as well.
I just comment,
Yes.
because I was gonna say this anyway in a different context, but a week or so ago, we made a long and I thought fairly well written response to the stuff that appears on Facebook. And it was written by the town, I assume Claire Louise, it was well done. And it immediately got a whole bunch of a cascade of debris from the same naysayers about the letter itself. And it reminds me that with people that choose to disbelieve whatever they choose to disbelieve, there is really no way of winning. And by adding fuel to the fire, all we are really doing is wasting a lot of staff time and a lot of bits and bytes on Facebook. So my recommendation would be to cease and desist. Let these people write whatever they want, and unless it becomes egregious, ignore them.
You know, I tend to agree. I think in this particular example, there's a specific expectation that based on a misinterpretation, I think in, you know, one paragraph or less, the interpretation can be corrected and clarity can be provided. And I think it's probably worth their while in this instance to do have a very short and a very sweet note back on that technical term. And hopefully that'll put it to bed.
Okay, Councillor Carver, you.
Yeah, I certainly resonate to Councillor Wilson's comments about not being pulled into endless combat with the naysayers. But in this case, because Mr. Dupuy has taken the time to write a letter to mayor and council, and I think that we have in the past always said that we want all letters from citizens to have a reply. So I think that it should receive a reply, but very simple and very clear. Not a debate, but just a reply.
Yeah. Okay. So, we ready for the vote? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. I will get to that.
Sarah, do you need to receive and filed everything else?
Yes,
that's left?
I would.
can't remember.
Appreciate that.
So 6.1, receive and
We
file.
can't receive and file our letter to somebody else.
No, I can't. Okay,
No.
right. Okay, 6.3, no, we did that. So the only thing left is 6.5.
And 6.6.
And
We talked about
6.6, right,
6.6.
okay.
Yeah.
Receive and file, thank you.
Okay. There a seconder?
I'll say that.
Okay, Councillor Wilson, thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to staff reports. This is growing, people. This is growing.
There's been a lot of resolutions in the last little while.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And there were a few shifting of things just based on time to get reports together. So I did, one I wanted to call attention to here was on number 6. I did receive the information I was waiting for from the District of Lunenburg and just simply didn't have time to get it in this package. So that will be on your next meeting agenda and it's coming out in like 3 business days. So I just wanted to assure that that was coming.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Buckner?
Yeah, on item 5, it refers to proposal of development of a new town, the Mahone Bay website. As we move forward on this, it seems to me we need to have another look at what do we expect this website to be able to produce and reflect upon. And it mentions it's completed, that's in terms of requesting proposal. Perhaps we could have a look at some point at what those proposals are. Might help.
Councillor?
Yeah, just, and understanding the RFP process, so you've received applications then? So the
No, so completed just means it's been posted. I actually don't think it's closed yet, although I'm not 100% because I'm not the principal on it.
Okay,
But I don't believe it's closed yet. I think it's currently still open. I
okay,
can double check.
and when's the date that it will close?
Well, that's what I should double check.
Okay,
But presuming it does close, then we would have proposals. And typically staff would evaluate the proposals and then make some recommendation. So you would see the recommendation.
Yeah.
You would not necessarily see all of the proposals.
Councillor Carver?
And I think I'm right in thinking that the website developer would develop, what do they call it, a beta, like a draft, and then it gets.
Yes,
yeah.
once they're selected, there would be interaction with the council, with the vendor.
Right,
Yeah.
and we would have input into that. And,
But that would be after the selection of the.
right.
Yeah. And hopefully that person would work with us and staff to.
Well, that's
before
part of the scope. They
Right,
would
yeah.
certainly need to do.
The sort of things I think of, that we have a plethora of websites and YouTubes and Facebooks and what have you, and it's go seek and find. It'd be nice to have a consolidated center where maybe hot links or whatever to some of these sites to facilitate
Easier use.
transparency and how to get feedback into the town, which always seems to be a problem. These individual sites are good, but they're all in different places, so difficult to. And the other part of it is we rely on the Chamber of Commerce to promote the town from a business perspective. I'm not sure that the website, because I'm frankly not that familiar with it myself, does much to explain what the town has to offer to residents, and that's sort of end of what the town has in place. So that would include all the sports facilities and groups and so on and so forth. So those are things I think
People wouldn't realize it falls under asset management. They're what can families do, you know, and click here and see what we have
anyway.
available.
Those are sort of things.
User friendly.
Yeah.
I found the answer to it. Closes on the 19th of June, so it'll be a little while.
Okay. And is there and because when we see these reports, it's usually seems to have the ones that are in progress, but is there an action or to-do item saying, you know, when the website is expected to be complete, like things like that, or?
Yeah, we really don't have the information until the contractor has been selected, because part of they're proposing methodology timeframes.
Yeah.
So the way that we do the tracking, and we could look at ways to track this otherwise, but it will come off this list now that it's completed the motion. You know, in my view, I would take it off this list now that it's complete. So then essentially this list will only really pick it up again when there's the direction of council. So that I don't know what else to do with that, because we did have a long form report where the managers would just comment on ongoing items.
Yeah.
Which we've taken away because it was just very lengthy, and I don't know that people were going to be able to read it every meeting. So I'm happy to work on options for that, maybe to have like an ongoing tracker. But yeah, we shortened this down to like just the motions until the motions are completed.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Sorry. I'm just curious if in the business plan for this past year, if that was written into the business plan, like as this is one of the tasks that we're going to work on for this year.
Oh, the website?
Yeah.
Well, so this year's business plan will actually be the new year, 26.
Right, sure.
So after budget is passed, it's typically been a month, so it will be coming to council next
So it'll
month.
come to, yeah.
And that would definitely include the website, because it's now become a big project for the year.
Yeah.
It wasn't really anticipated last year
Last
because the technical issues were the biggest driver to this.
Yeah, fair enough.
Councillor Carver.
So, when the RFP process closes and the tenders or the bids are evaluated, does staff make the choice, or does it come back to council with recommendations?
So, we kind of handle this differently in different cases. The budget authorization is technically sufficient if something is within budget, but when the award is not primarily a cost-based award, we do often come back to talk to council. So in this case, like, to be honest, we're likely to get a wide range of vendors from local to even out of the country potentially. And so I think staff would expect council to weigh in on an award like that. And so there likely would be a recommendation, and council would discuss. It's just, sometimes it's the value isn't the issue. You could buy a really big piece of equipment and council's opinion is not really relevant. It's just the piece of equipment we're buying. But this isn't really about the price, it's about the methodology, everything else.
Well, I'm sure we've all sat around board tables in our volunteer work and have been victims of websites that were set up and no one could ever work, and that.
I think the majority of municipal websites are disappointing.
Yeah, and
it's very frustrating, and then you also hear how user unfriendly some are, so it would be, I think, very important that council weighed in on it.
I think our last website effort really focused on slimming down the user interface and making things simple. And I think it was very effective. We may have a different design philosophy or objectives going into this one. So those are the conversations to have.
And it's a much different world now. We're spending significant dollars on cybersecurity. We've got a lot of, we've got the benefit of having an entire IT team that we rely on at Joint Services Board. So, I think coming back to the point of who's going to sit around and evaluate the proposals. I would think we would avail of that expertise as well as part of that.
We would ask. Often, unfortunately, the answer with respect to web design is that's outside of MJSB's scope. But
Fair enough. It's just another opportunity for a collaboration down the road, maybe.
Yes.
Little.
Any other discussion with the staff report?
What's on the
Move
go?
that we accept that report as presented. Worship.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Popperman, thank you. All those in favor, signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to staff report, security cameras and public properties policy.
So this was a very recent request. This is kind of the good thing about this tracking document that we've got, because sometimes things have a lot of different moving pieces to get there. We had, as it was discussed recently when the recommendation came forward from the Police Advisory Board, already drafted a policy that had already been considered. So we went back to that policy. We did change the terminology based on recent conversations, and that's pretty much the only difference here. So I didn't present the changes because they're changes on a draft that we didn't present publicly anyway, but didn't take long to turn around a draft that I think Eric did consult with a number of different parties, including our new Protection of Privacy Service and the Municipal Joint Services Board and other municipal units. And, so I think at the end of the day, we didn't get a legal opinion, but we did have some legal opinion last time. So I think pending any questions from council, I think we're pretty safe on this, but it's a new policy, meaning it is not actually recommended for adoption until your next meeting, because you're supposed to have 7 days of stew time. So it's presented here, but the recommendation is after due consideration at your next meeting to pass this policy.
Okay.
Yes, Councillor Carper.
So I did have note down something, a question about the CAO being the one to make decisions. But in some places it says, or council decides. So I think I first noticed that in number 15 in the policy. It says the decision to install a system on town property shall be made by the CAO or at the direction of council. So why is it either or there?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I suppose it is just saying that I have the authority to decide to install a security system. So at the discretion of council goes within saying, obviously you guys direct anything, but in the absence of direction, I don't require direction according to clause 15 to proceed with the installation of a security system. So
just need an appropriation.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like an example of this would be we have used security cameras in response to like an actual issue, a break-in or vandalism, and we may want to put a temporary security camera in place right away.
Yeah.
So typically, I'm just telling Jonathan, go ahead, put that in place, because they come back the next day, we'll get them. You know what I mean? So that's usually the case. If it's a permanent security camera, it requires an appropriation. To Joe's point, we'll probably then be coming to council for an authorization. But we do have some deployable cameras that we have used. We don't want to make a very public statement about this, but if needed, cameras can appear to potentially collect evidence.
Is there a way that we could add and inform council?
That was my next thought.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you have the authority, but
Because
update
this next
that.
sentence to be council would be informed.
Yes.
That sort of covers my.
So, and these type of changes we can reflect on when it comes to the next meeting, because essentially the week, in the case of a policy, it's not like a hearing on a bylaw. It has to have been circulated, but it's not like locked in. So,
Right.
We can change that.
And I'm sure there's times you're trying to find who's the culprit with something, and you don't want to say, oh, well, there's one set up at such and such a place. And
But it's
I
good for
can
you folks to
understand
know,
that.
and especially for you, because you sometimes get community chatter that actually could help
Yeah.
with an investigation.
And I'm an early morning walker, and
That's
I
right.
may be snooping around someplace some morning, and as I often, find the garbage that somebody has dumped the night before and picked it up and put it in the waste and whatnot, but you see some fresh things in the morning. Okay, thank you, everyone. So we are ready to move on. We voted on this, so.
We can vote on this.
We don't have
Just
to.
a-
This is because it's
This
presented
going
for
back,
the next
you
meeting.
get-
You
right,
don't even
right,
receive
right.
for information because it's actually
Receive,
be back on the
okay.
next.
That's fine. All right, and we just have to,
So the mass notification policy is a little bit different. It is recommended for tonight because we already have one, and it's just a
Okay.
minor amendment to keep it in line with the fact that we have switched providers. Technically, our old policy was written, I guess we were kind of amateurs, and wrote a policy saying we're gonna use a specific brand name of a product. So that's not a great practice, and that's why, because we switched the product, so now we need a more generic version of the document. But
right,
really, the changes here are just in reaction to that.
yes.
So there may be other questions about the policy, but the changes are really minor and
Councillor
could be
Carr?
made tonight.
But I had the impression that it had been beefed up significantly in terms of outlining people's roles and responsibilities and communication channels, but my question
I think that was
is.
just putting Eric on it, like he added
Yeah.
stuff that he felt needed.
Where does the after hours come in? I mean, if somebody has been assigned to be I can't forget the title, the manager of it, is that a 24-hour job? It doesn't, I didn't see any mention of the after hours service.
It definitely is contemplated here in the way that we work this out, but I have to just a little bit.
Might have
The
missed it.
people who are on call, like we have at any given point, 3 on-call staff with different responsibilities. So there's somebody placed on call in Public Works, in electrical, and in water wastewater. Those 3 staff are on call, and the call center has their contact information for any contact that may be needed at any time. The protocol here is evolving to enable those individuals who are on call to issue alerts without support from administrative staff. So in the past, honestly, we never really could. The field staff would say what was happening, and then somebody who wasn't on call would voluntarily make themselves available for some time outside of regular hours and would receive time in lieu for the time, but was not placed on call. People are willing to, staff have not complained about that, but ultimately, if you're being asked to work outside of work hours, you should be on call. So we now, with Alertable and with Claire in her role to set up procedures and train people, are going to be able to have the on-call operators actually issuing the alerts. As to how that's defined in the policy, I have to read through. The dispatch team includes those people, and that's, basically the people in the field are part of the team. How that interaction is defined in the policy, I'm not 100%.
Councillor Boone?
So when I look at this, so what is the difference between this mass notification policy or this system that we have versus what we then receive from the province? Like, because when you get those emergency messages, so they're coming from the province, obviously, and then ours is, and I'm just trying to get clarity, ours is coming from staff here?
Yeah, so if there's a water main break.
Right, I
or
see.
Power outage.
Got it.
So the province doesn't put out, the town of Mahone.
Yeah,
because
fair
they're
enough.
out.
So it's localized.
Theirs are more alerts for safety purposes. Or
I know the app is
evacuation.
actually similar, like it is the same service. We don't have the ability to push the blaring warning to the we do actually have it through them. They have, if we have an active shooter incident or something, we do have the ability to through their system, but our system doesn't have that.
Right.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Councillor Carver?
I want to go back to my earlier question about after hours, because I'm now about the dispatch team. So if I notice that the wire across the road from me has snapped and is sparking on the road, as has happened, who do I call? Do I call after hours, or who do I call?
Yeah, you still call the call center.
Hmm?
You
I
call the
still
call center, yeah.
Okay, and they will
And
reach
they'll
me.
message the on-call employee in some format, and
Okay,
then that person will be able to issue a notification.
and is that just gonna be 3 people who are gonna be rotating on, being on call?
Well, it's 3 teams of 3. Well,
3 teams of 3.
2
Oh,
teams of 3
okay.
and a team of 4.
Oh.
But so Public Works and the utilities, each those teams, like 3 people in
Okay.
electrical, 3 people in water. We've previously been recommended that 3 people is really, necessary to maintain an on-call rotation. But there's not much value to having on-call calls for electrical go to water or vice versa, because they really can't answer.
Okay, so the public will be instructed to call after hours, the on-call.
Yeah, so if you call here, you get directed to the call center. If you call the call center, they pass the message on to the employee in the field. And if that employee then feels that there is an outage of whatever service, they can issue the notification through Alertable. So hopefully that means that it's a quick turnaround and doesn't involve anyone who's not being compensated for the work.
Councillor Dean?
So these look like good updates to me. Now that we've moved away from kind of the colloquial code red to the white labeled service, fair enough. But when we introduced this in 2019, I believe, like we did do a real push on uptake, like how many people are registered, how many people have the phone numbers, put in their emails, like the sign up process to make sure the engagement is high. And we actually used to report that at every council meeting,
Yeah.
and I think the uptake ended up being quite high. I'm just wondering if this is an opportunity through this policy change tonight. Like, should we kind of re-engage the community and say, just be aware, Code Red is.
Well, we have done a lot of that
Legit.
messaging, but we definitely do need to continue and start reporting again. So Claire actually does the quarterly stats reporting now, which is great because I'm not doing it myself. And one of the things she's trying to do with
Right.
quarterly stats reporting is bring back that element of reporting on the dispatch or the alert service. So we will have it again in the next quarterly report. What it looks like, I'm not entirely sure, because we do have a bit of option here that I don't think we ever really had before, to upload information of customers without them doing it. And the difference here is that in the previous case, it was an American service. And so we took the view that people had to provide their own
They
agreement
opt in almost.
to put it, yes. So as a Canadian hosted service that the province uses, it actually has people's contact information in it. And we can put their information on our list for not the non-emergency notifications, but the more critical notifications. So I don't think we made the final determination as to how that could work, but I do think, in my view, it's appropriate to take advantage of contact information that we have
Clearly.
and ask people to opt out if they would like to opt out.
Right.
I mean, not for any of
Yeah,
the
that's
messages, but for critical messages.
Smart. Like 911 only works if you have everyone's phone.
So
number,
that's a big,
right?
that's a change. So we wouldn't necessarily be reporting the same thing about enrollments because we would have a basic enrollment, but we'll figure out how to report and what we end up doing.
Councillor Copeland?
Yeah, I just wonder about this change in name of Code Red. I understand why you're getting rid of that. That's commercial name and whatnot, but MNS Software as its name that doesn't exactly ring of emergency or notification. Could we not come up with our own equivalent of Code Red? It might ring the bell a bit more.
Yeah, we promote the product as Alertable because that's the name of the current product. It's an interesting point that if we could come up with something catchy that wasn't the name of the product, we could then promote it on an ongoing basis. We switched from promoting one brand name, Code Red, to a different brand name, Alertable.
But in the word
And now we're
emergency
changing
or
the
something.
policy to refer to a generic term, mass notification system. But we don't say mass notification system when we're promoting the Alertable service. We're calling it Alertable, which is
You are calling it.
yeah. So that's, I don't know.
Mahone Bay Alert.
Yeah, like we could have tried to.
And the alert.
Read it that way.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you-
Oh, it resonates.
I
But
don't
can
think
you
the
use
policy
the-
needs to necessarily reflect
Can you
that.
use the messaging for other purposes?
Oh, yeah.
Like, could you send, Happy New Year from the mayor, or
Yeah, we,
you know,
we do have a
Savings is
non-emergency
closed,
channel.
or what, like,
We have a non-emergency channel, so
Yeah.
the non-emergency channel will include, like potentially, I'm trying to think about when we've actually used it. Notifications about events, but I'm just trying to think what we've actually used it for. Like, certainly the reindeer run is a disruption of road use.
Right.
So I don't know if that's considered a service disruption or a community notice. We do put out a notice with reindeer run using that service system.
Right.
But I don't remember
You know,
if it was
just
if it went to everyone as an outage notification because it's a road outage. But I'm sure we've used it a couple times for non-emergency things, and we
Yeah, we
can,
have,
we can use it
definitely.
more for that.
I'm just thinking, Councillor Palterman had a really elegant commentary around the budget that we may recall from last month, talking about the town's efforts on transparency, and it just like will avail of whatever channel the person wants to receive information from. Maybe they don't have Facebook, but they might take texts. So I'm just wondering if we're going to have this system that we think the compliance is going to be much higher because of the opt-out versus opt-in, which I think is a very smart idea. Then if we were in the 80 or 90 or 95%, participation, then the tool becomes dramatically more valuable to us than just on alerts. We also can send out, I'm not saying we're going to swarm people with 5 pings a day, but periodically it might be something that we might want to let people know about.
Councillor
Anyway.
McCarron?
Yeah, I would really find that so invasive. It would just irritate me to have somebody coming in unrequested,
Unless you've asked for it, something like, sorry.
Unless you,
Well, that's why the non-emergency
Opt out.
is opt-in, the emergency is opt-out. That's what we've done so far.
Yeah.
You have to opt-in for the non-emergency channel, you have to opt out of the emergency channel, or hopefully that would be.
Yeah, certainly I wouldn't want to opt out, evacuate immediately or whatever,
Maybe it's a conversation.
Councillor Wilson?
Well, I was gonna say, since we're only really here to get away from the brand name
Yeah.
and make this more generic, I'd like to move that council adopt the amended mass notification policy as presented.
Second by Councillor Carver, thank you. Any further discussion? No? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. I am trying to get back on my agenda.
8.2.
I am
It's me
trying to
next.
find it.
Another policy we.
So I might need some help with this. So I'll just start off by saying, considering that the several partnerships between the town and community organizations that manage and operate activities at town facilities, including the pool, tennis courts, marina, and community sports field, all have different terms of reference. So I've brought a motion to council that I ran by Mr. Hyde. And when I reread the motion today, I thought, it seems pretty convoluted, but I'll try it and see what happens. So the motion is that council refer to the Policy and Strategy Committee a request for a recommendation on the question of establishing a policy to govern partnerships between the town and any organizations that manage or operate activities at town-owned facilities. I think that should be a period.
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry.
I think that's what-
I don't think I actually gave you the wording specifically, but I did look at it, but didn't catch anything.
Does that work?
I think you're better with that app, yeah.
I'll second
Okay,
Sorry, just to clarify, what's that change? What is the
Oh,
change?
just eliminate that last clause or
Okay.
phrase, whatever it is.
policy and
It's a
strategy is
phrase.
already in it.
Yeah. But then ultimately,
So-
the point is to ask whether we should have a policy.
Yeah.
That's what's.
Maybe we
fair
all,
enough.
maybe we should ask that question now.
Well, I think, yeah, I guess in discussion on the motion, you could almost clarify if there's strong feelings one way or the other.
well, so is the objective,
Is there a seconder?
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Councillor Wilson, okay.
is the my understanding is that these partnerships do have arrangements, formalized contractual arrangements for, in most instances, whether it be the marina or the Vic or the pool or the Mahone Bay Soccer Club. But I think the virtue of this, of moving this forward for discussion, is trying to find alignment, some kind of consistency. You know, thinking out loud, we had a conversation around the pool around the insurance. We were talking about the insurance between different organizations, and just do we have consistent language in terms? So I can certainly see why
Councillor Paul?
it might make sense.
Yeah, I can certainly see the merit in having what you might call boilerplate. Common requirements, but beneath that, these are distinct organizations with different requirements and whatnot, and so to the extent it can be brought down to boilerplate items, I'd be in favor of it, sure.
Just to mention, the district of Lunenburg, I don't know what the status of it now, but quite a long time ago, more than a decade ago, probably two or three decades ago, had pioneered an approach of saying to groups, here's our generic co-management agreement for recreational facilities. Would you be interested in this type of an arrangement? So by putting the policy and the sort of generic template document together, they were also essentially inviting groups to come together, or for existing groups to contemplate these types of relationships.
Mhm.
And they did end up entering into quite a number for different community playgrounds and things, some of which are still existent and some of which have gone many years. But I think there's a good precedent for using the discussion of a consistent approach to also encourage more of these types of.
It opens the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, ready for the question?
Okay, so this is going to refer it to policy and strategy.
Yes.
Yes, and even though now we've kind of talked about the merits of the question, the Policy and Strategy Committee could weigh in further on the actual development of a policy.
All those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Back there.
Oh, I forgot to acknowledge when we were going over the approval of the agenda, the typo on the Asset Management Committee. Kelly fixed it. All right, so somewhere between when I sent this out and now, there was a typo, it's been fixed, I don't need to
Okay.
acknowledge it.
Oh, the date, yes,
Yeah.
yes, I know, I saw.
I was like, gonna acknowledge it.
It's true, it changed at the last minute.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to committee reports. 9.1 Lunenburg County Accessibility Advisory. You did speak eloquently already on this topic, but anything more to add, Councilor Carver?
No, thank you.
Okay, RCMP quarterly report.
So you have mentioned that was a meeting of the Accessibility Committee held here in our building. It's the only time we've ever done that. I think it went really well, having it here in the building.
Yeah.
So that's worth noting. After
Thank you for
six
adding
years
that.
spent online or whatever.
That's right.
So-
Yes. Okay, let's see, South Shore Open Doors Association, I bypassed that, didn't mean to. That's always a good report to read and compare from the previous months. 9.4 climate and environment, there must be a motion in this.
No.
No, oh my goodness,
I know.
wow, okay, that's interesting. Okay, Oakland Lake Watershed, anything there, Councillor Wilson?
Motions, no. Is there anything of note?
The mayor attended.
Mayor attended. Yeah. We're gonna give her a ribbon, but we forgot. I guess the only thing, you'll see it in the newsletter coming out. Claire Louise asked me to write a little blurb about whatever I wanted to. I wrote about water. And one of the little interesting anecdotes is that, last summer we got quite concerned about water levels. Just as an average, the town takes the equivalent of 1 millimeter of water out of that lake per day in terms of depth. And evaporation on a summer day will take between 5 and 10, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah, it's I heard it's a big, like it's quite an ample supply.
It's a
that we-
650,000 square meter lake.
Yeah,
Yeah, talk to Greg Little sometime about it. He's
Yeah.
got all sorts of.
So, I mean,
statistics.
yeah, that's.
So, I mean, it's an interesting,
He was at this meeting. He's
It's
not
an interesting
he's
question.
in there because he's not on.
Right.
when Council Wilson made the observation a couple of weeks ago about from time to time, and I'm as guilty as anyone, we do react, and, last year we reacted by saying we, the mayor and some men are gonna dam up the lake, well, the modern version of that 1929 motion. But like, we're on track to spend like $100,000 on a study to dam up the lake, which, I don't know, like based on this feedback, and I haven't been at the table when the conversation, but I wonder about, and of course the year before we reacted to biblical amounts of rain by saying, we need stormwater management. And I think it's I think the takeaway is here, that's really kind of resonating with me now to say we're living in these times where we do have these major changes, but like, let's not lock ourselves into anything without enough of a statistical sample so that we can make a decision, not, based on the weather today, but on some kind of consistent methodology, because these numbers are big. These are big numbers. I mean, the watershed studies we're undertaking are, going to push $100,000 forward on, I'm sure. And that's just to get permission to do something which 100 years ago we could have just done with a couple guys and some oxen. So who knows? And the mayor.
But don't we, aren't the, was it me or you first?
I don't know why. I'm so really, I was.
You wonder.
Aren't the requirements that we have to make the application? Because in a 10-year period, we have to make a report or an application for whatever, but that needn't include a request to dam.
No, I mean, in the process of our developing the application for water withdrawal, we will assess and confirm the potential for a dam and whether it would be something that we would need to ask for.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Climate and Environment Committee is advising against it on the whole.
Generally speaking, I think they're saying that it wouldn't be effective,
Yeah.
which is one of the things that the rigorous process would determine.
But isn't this where the origin of the plan came from?
No, the
Came
recommendation
from that group?
the damming thing came through watershed.
Ah,
Yeah.
fair enough. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I did not.
But ultimately, I think watershed has understood the context a little bit more clearly, like that the dam is in the context of assessing whether the dam could be effective and whether it would be needed, and that we haven't reached that conclusion yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Councillor
Well,
Faulkner.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't get the large numbers floating around here. Kelly will correct me. I don't think it's $100,000 might involve the assessment of the surrounding lands and what can be done to enhance the quality of the water and produce potential revenue if that is approved. The dam is a portion of that, but certainly not $100,000. It's
I think we've already appropriated 60 in the budget.
20 this year.
20 this year, 20, and
this year.
like, I think we've already talked about large numbers that are some of which have already been approved by this council.
I think it's been cited that the minimum amount that the withdrawal permit application would take based on, for example, Town of Lunenburg renewing theirs recently, another, $30,000, like a minimum. But the proposal that was presented to the council included an optional modeling process that could be like another 50. Well, I guess good news on that, I think we are going to have potentially some other cost-effective ways to approach the study as we go forward, which I can't really get into too much at this point. So first year's appropriation 20, we'll certainly, see if within the year we're back with a assessment on the rest of the costs. I would say that if you include management of the lands, the withdrawal, the dam design, like you could spend a lot of money. We just don't know if we will need to over the process could conclude at a lower amount. But I mean, even just spending $30,000 on a regulatory process, it's a lot of money.
Councillor Faulkner.
But as Councillor Carver says, we're going to be locked into a process in any event moving forward. It also locks into the raw water pipe and what size that diameter that has to be. And that locks into how much development we think we're going to get here. In other words, it's a complex picture. Knee bone's connected to the leg bone, and so on and so forth. So this is just a part of a overall.
Planning for our future.
Yes.
I think I'm certainly no expert, but this was a conversation that came up at the mayors and wardens meeting last month about, the municipality's investing significant dollars in drilling wells because they're quite afraid of water shortages. And so when I hear that, when I see the amount of money that they're contemplating investing, and then I hear, and this is like unsubstantiated, I haven't seen any facts, but this is the word on the street is that kind of Mahone Bay has unlimited amounts of water with our huge reservoir and water source. It's like somewhere between Mahone Bay has unlimited amounts of water and a regulated water utility, and Modal needs a lot of water because their citizens don't have any water. I wonder, is there an opportunity there to, like, why, is there an opportunity to, use that reservoir for more than one thing at the same time? And
We have discussed in the past, potentially moving water up to, say, Blockhouse and whatnot, or into municipality, if they so agree. All this is part of the long-term planning process and what makes sense and how much you can get for so little in terms of a modest dam which raise the lake 1 foot, which would give you an extra month or 2 or 3, whatever it is, a millimeter a day, whatever that is, in feet, I don't know. But a lot of, especially at the beginning of the season, when the land is frozen, you don't get the drainage that's your committee, Penny, is concerned about. Reach for it. It isn't going to drain out to the side. The land's frozen. So if that gets you an extra month or so before you get down to the normal high level, if you will, it might be good. It may give us opportunities down the road. It seems to me, compared to drilling wells, which is another alternative that's been suggested, it's massively less expensive to build a well. No, not well, a small dam. Talking a very small height.
Anyway, I guess it's a intellectual honesty exercise. So we have a small money losing business called the water utility, and we're in the business of monetizing the water that we're spending a lot of money to treat. And at the same time, our neighbors in the municipality are having major water shortages. We seem to have a deep reservoir of water that we would have a difficult time giving away because we have a regulated water utility. But what happens if we did have a bulk water sale? Anyway, these are questions. Maybe not need to talk with them tonight, but I have a hard time figuring out. Sorry, Dylan.
No, I'm just
like somewhere between.
I'm not trying to jump the queue.
Like, do we really need to say, we have a don't water your grass this summer, or could we be saying feel free, water away? Anyway, well, yeah, but the more water is consumed, the more water we sell. So it's a mathematical question, right? I'm not trying to be.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Councillor Boone.
I'm just curious logistically is if Modal wanted access to that water, or if that was something that we were considering, how do you deliver it to them? Because everybody's on the
Well,
wells.
it's in they could just take it. They could expropriate the lake from it.
Well, I don't know.
No, they can't do that. We just
comment on those
spend millions of dollars.
No, that doesn't everybody, most of the people in at least the rural areas in Modal, they're well water, so it's you got the delivery challenge there. And then I guess unless it's going to Lunenburg, is that what you're thinking too?
What are you thinking?
Can I?
Yeah.
So the process, to Joe's initial point, the process that is going now to the withdrawal permit will contemplate potential additional draws from things like MODL approaching the town for one of, I guess there's 2 ways. that they have or might ask for supply. So if services are extended at the blockhouse, for example, something like that, we're expanding our distribution system to serve their residents.
Okay.
MODL would not wish to be involved except in the capital element. Once the service is there, they want the utility to just be a utility that serves people in their territory as customers. They don't want to be involved. They want us to be serving their customers. So they would potentially deal with the capital, bringing something out into Blockhouse, and then we would have an ongoing relationship with the customer base there.
Yeah.
Modeling the potential demand of something like that is within the scope of what CBCL will be doing.
Yeah.
And in fact, MODL has made those. They did request an extension into Blockhouse 2 years ago, which they pulled back on because there were other factors, acquisition of land and things, but they were contemplating it. And we did get CBCL at MODL's expense to run the necessary studies to determine the availability of water to supply that development. But this process will be a bit more comprehensive, I think, in that respect. And then the other point is how you could distribute other than to places adjacent to the town, which you got to be a little careful about because those developments might have happened in town and you don't get tax base.
Yeah, fair
enough. But we need customers. The other option, like in my experience, I think Shelburne is one of the places that does this the most. So I was there. Shelburne is terribly drought stricken. When I was the CAO down there, we worked out a protocol with the district that actually had the town create a manned distribution location, the showers and filling of cube containers, whatever, lots of water being sold by now, metered, attendant, your full deal. Somebody's actually there, it's metered, and they're selling it. But the meter was paid by the District of Shelburne, and the staff time was paid by the District of Shelburne, and the town essentially just allowed them to create a distribution service for their distributed residents. And that is something that we could contemplate if we have enough water to supply, which is
Which is
if
one of
that
the
is
study.
being quantified in the study. Yeah. So it may be that MODL would come and would like to set up that type of a service. I don't know that they would because they would have to pay for it. But if they would want to set it up, we'd have to quantify that we could supply.
Right.
And as far as I know, the District of Shelburne and Town of Shelburne still have that arrangement. I'm not.
And they have an offer on a well that they're sitting on.
Oh,
I-
sorry to make that.
Yeah, I know, that's controversial right
The
now.
news right now. Yeah.
Yes, Councilor McCoy is in charge.
I guess I just need a little more clarity. You know, last summer, the lake was down 2 feet and we were conserving water. I mean, it was pretty scary that it could be down that low. What capacity do we have? We're servicing what, like 500 households now? If we had another 200, 600? What theoretically, what is the capacity?
Well, if we're using a millimeter a foot, a millimeter a day, there are 304 millimeters in a foot.
So that's about a year to come down a foot.
Yeah.
And last summer it was down 2 feet, so that, I mean.
So we're losing a lot.
Yeah, I guess the thing is that it was not our activity that
Human intervention.
brought it down. So the fear is that the lake, which could, under normal circumstances, certainly supply 2 or 3 times the number of customers. We've often said we could certainly supply many more customers. But if there's a drought situation, it's just about this sort of cyclical recharge. Is there a low level at the height of a drought that dips down into a precarious situation? The recharge now, our evidence shows we're back. You know, like the recharge through the winter hasn't necessarily ever been an issue. We're not losing lake levels over time. That's not a trend.
But
at
other
least
places.
not demonstrated. It may be something that this study will demonstrate,
Yes.
but it's not that. It's in a particular given year, if we get the lowest possible amount of rainfall, we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where the utility has to stop functioning.
Right.
Yeah.
Just for
And we could have a lot of buffer even before that point too.
my 1 millimeter a day doesn't take into account the 5 to 10 millimeters evaporation.
Well, yes,
So that's
Yeah.
where the
yes.
extra comes in.
Councilor Carver and then Councilor Wilson.
Well, I'm just interested in the different flavors of conversation at the different tables. Whether it's and we're on the Watershed Advisory Committee, that's our
Right.
topic right
Right.
now. But it's been discussed at Climate and Environment, it's been discussed at Asset Management. is being discussed here now at council table, and the information that's being shared is different every time. And I can't get over the difference between the approach of the town last summer, the water conservation measures, and now saying, let's use up all the water we've got.
Well,
all the water.
exactly.
It's just
But
bizarre.
Council
frankly.
Wilson's making
Well,
that
if
point,
you
right?
listen
But
to,
my question is this going to get to be discussed at the joint committee meeting in June? Is this on the agenda for that?
is it?
No, it's not.
It's
So
not,
that,
okay.
that discussion of water supply at the joint committees meeting had been initiated by asset management, and they determined that that process had concluded. We went through everything, we talked about everything. Motions were made as needed, and they felt that we didn't need to keep having that conversation. At least that's my take on the conversations that, but I did want to point out, I mean, this is getting into the weeds just a tad, but the real distinction, Councillor Carver, between all these things has come down to the regulated nature of the water supply.
Hmm.
So what happened last summer is that the lake ceased to meet its regulated ecological flow. So this is the lake discharge out of the lake stopped. Now, I think the evidence, as pointed out tonight, clearly seems to point to it wasn't us, it wasn't our activity that caused that to happen. But in a situation where the flow has stopped, we are, according to our regulations, responsible for that. So we should therefore do what we can to contribute to the restoration of ecological flow. Well, we could have conserved down to absolutely zero water use last summer. The ecological flow was not returning on the basis of our conservation. But we were able to report that we had put conservation measures in place, a generally understood response that you need when you've dropped below your regulated level. So part of this process is to see if those regulated outflow levels could potentially be altered, given that they are climate driven and not human withdrawal activity driven. That would be an approach through the process we're talking about. So that might bring things into one conversation as opposed to, because I think that's the reason why the two.
We're gonna put all those little balls in the water like they do in
Councillor Wilson.
Rarely have I been so upset with myself as I have about bringing up that one.
illumination.
Move on.
We're moving on, fair enough. It's
Well,
always nice to learn, though.
I just know that at the spring conference of the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, the Deputy Minister for Emergency Services did warn us that a drought is coming in June and that we should be prepared, that they no longer consider drought an emergency. It has been 7 years of drought here in Nova Scotia, and people have had time to make adjustments and figure out plans for themselves. So they are cutting out the water program. That doesn't say that municipalities have to cut it out, but it's downloading more onto municipalities who may find it challenging to afford. So, you know, we have to keep our eyes and ears open for those conditions as well. You know, they're following the maps very closely and the trends right across the globe. So North America is going in, should be in June sometime, starting a drought. So, which is much earlier than last year.
And today they also announced the Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund has been sort of repurposed towards water supply applications. So there is small amount of provincial funding, 6.3 million, available for sort of drought related interventions that the application process is currently open. We don't necessarily have an application, but we will definitely be looking at this if it's get announced. And if MODL reaches out to us, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I do not want to open up a can of worms, but I just,
That goes.
but, okay, so we had the drought last year.
Mhm.
And if.
7 years.
And we've had it for 7 years, right? And I was looking at just a couple of the presentations from that seminar in Yarmouth and just how different municipalities responded to drought. My question maybe for Dylan is, and others is, how would we respond differently this year, knowing what we know? right now. Like there's one here where West Hants Regional Municipality was providing like containers of water, like for, you know, people and things like that. Are there things that we could do to be better prepared for if there is something like that upcoming? I've just, and
So from my perspective, we have talked extensively through the asset management initiated joint committees process about this,
Okay,
but you haven't
okay.
had to be part of it. And the conclusion of all of that was the town should not do anything at this time in
Okay.
respect to people who are on wells who may experience a shortage.
Hmm.
Obviously, if MODL approaches us about their residents, that's a different point.
Sure.
And then I should note the council has directed staff to reach out to consult with the fire department membership about the potential use of the public showers at the community hall
Yes.
for people at times of drought. And that has been initiated, and the fire chiefs confirmed they're going to be discussing it at their next meeting. So that's one other piece that will come back to council. But other than the potential to make public showers available, there's nothing in motion, but there has been a lot of discussion to conclude with no recommendations at this time.
Okay. All right.
All right,
I'll
this
leave it
has
at
been quite a discussion. I think we're ready to move on. I don't know if the rest of you were. Heritage Advisory Committee, Councillor Carver, do you have anything to add?
I'm just happy to say, I think we have our full complement of members now.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, I can go back. And we have Asset Management Committee, Councillor Palfrey, do you have anything to?
Yes, there is a proposal to expand the scope of the mandate of the committee in one area, and that's there is a list of assets owned and managed by the town of Mahone Bay, which include all the usual things you'd expect, but it doesn't include provision for things like the town wharf and other shoreline type assets, or the potential of Cape Shoal infill or something like that. So the suggestion is to include one extra category called the shoreline assets.
Okay. So you making that motion?
Yes.
So it's to amend the asset management, or to adopt the asset management policy as amended is the
Yes.
motion. But there are two changes, the addition of shoreline assets and a little sentence about how the town will advocate for development of asset management plans by intermunicipal organizations of which we're a part.
Okay.
A little difficulty with that one, but anyway, the one that passes, I mean.
Yeah. Is there a seconder?
Also, is the motion for the housekeeping of the amendments for the
Yes.
amended
Yes.
policy? Yeah,
Yes.
I'll second it.
And seconded by Councillor Carver. Any further discussion?
I have a question
Yes.
about the shoreline assets. Would that include the living shoreline?
Well, it's a good question. It's not ours, technically speaking.
It is ours.
Well, it's on our.
We own it. The next motion on this list is going to be exactly about the idea that we own those things. But essentially, what we discussed at the committee was we would cross-list assets. So there's an understanding that in the category mentioned, the living shoreline is cross-listed as a natural asset. And the breakwater infrastructure at the marina is cross-listed as a recreational asset. So those things will be recognized on both plans. But the main purpose, I think, of the committee of bringing the shoreline assets together is to paint a more comprehensive picture of the service provided, because asset management is about services provided by assets. The service provided, as we have now become a party to, of shoreline adaptation. Shoreline protection has become a service that we are providing. We've done a study about providing it into the area of the Ernst Brook. We're trying to initiate consultations with businesses about providing it into the business core. And there's a motion, the next motion, in here about what we'll do with respect to the Highway 3 towards Lunenburg, because that's another section that the town owns and is responsible for. So the shoreline assets management plan would bring together the concept of shoreline assets as a service and give a more coherent understanding to future objectives in that regard from an asset management perspective. I think that's how the committee was, why should it be its own thing when the assets could be lumped in with these other categories somewhat?
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the floor and seconded. Any further discussion?
This
Okay,
is on the first motion.
Yeah.
yes. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Another motion here, Councillor Copeland, did you want to bring that one forward?
Well, this is the one that,
Submerged
okay.
shoreline,
no, the shoreline is one that just.
submerged groundland.
That council direct staff to initiate the process to acquire submerged crown land.
Oh, yes, sorry.
You're on the policy rather than the minutes, I think, right?
I might have it, okay.
Do you want me to do it?
By all means, I haven't found it.
You got it?
Just a second. Doesn't want to come up.
Yeah, there's-
Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, that the council directs staff to initiate the process to acquire submerged crown land in the direction of Matus Cove as necessary to effect field land improvements to combat ongoing erosion along Highway number 3.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Boone. Thanks.
So I'll say
Any
I'm asking for it on the task assigned list, because this is
Okay.
gonna be there for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, consider it was like 20 years to get
Yeah.
done. So, last year or I guess 24 or 25, when the submerged crown land was transferred to the town, where's the demarc point between where that asset is now under the town's control versus this particular, like how far do we go before we end up in the crown land still retained by the crown?
Yeah, the bandstand is the limit of it in the
Inner harbor.
direction of the commercial core. So from the bandstand across the mouth of the Ernst Brook, up the Ernst Brook is the town's, and down Edgewater is the town's. But from the bandstand through the commercial area
Is
is
still-
not the town's.
And does the asset go all the way to the other shoreline, or just within, or only to the halfway mark?
No, it only goes a number of meters offshore. I don't have
It's
a
kind of,
definition.
the
It follows the shoreline decays. It
the
does not
mooring
go-
field is not
Yeah,
indicative
yeah,
of
it
the
doesn't
trans.
get out into the.
Okay. Different thing altogether.
So we essentially expect the same thing here, where there's very few water lots, if any, in this section. So we draw a distance based on the area of disturbance necessary for work off of the existing shoreline on Highway 3 and say we need this limit, however many meters, as CBCL had defined it previous, however many meters we would need to be able to affect improvement. This is the limit that we're going to require. Can we acquire it? Because as been noted previous, infill on crown land is not permitted. If you don't have ownership of the submerged crown land, you have to work within the footprint of the current shoreline, which is basically impossible because the roadway would have to give way to put armoring. Like we've already lost through erosion any room to work. So the acquisition of the submerged crown land is considered an essential step. We did it with Edgewater. Other units have now been the province is developing a more general procedure for this because it is how they would prefer to approach infill for coastal protection. The province seemingly would prefer that land to be deeded over to the municipality so that they're not allowing us to infill their land.
Yeah.
So since last time, they've kind of developed an approach because we did it and then everybody else was like, we need to do it. And so this time around, they're probably going to make us pay a lot. We didn't pay for it cost the province a fair bit to do that for us.
So when we talk about in the direction of Matus Cove, we're talking about land that's in the town with adjacent to town limit.
To our
town
ownership
limits.
of the coastline and where our ownership ends at the town limit, well, it's from there, yeah. Or original public works again.
Once it gets beyond there, it can just slide in.
That's right.
Okay,
There is one more.
any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed? And this is a long, this is a long, this is a vision.
We
Yes.
probably don't need this on the staff report with the
Yeah.
due date. Due date 2040.
We'll say initiate the process till I have a report to council that says what the process now is. Yeah, and we'll do, and then we can take it off the list and replace it with whatever the next step is.
Okay, so
Okay, and there's one
one
more.
further. Yes, now I found my place. Council directs staff to prepare a letter to the Department of Emergency Services Minister now Tony Rushton, regarding the importance of coordinating stormwater management within the rail trail corridors with the town's stormwater management initiative for the signature of the mayor.
Is there a seconder?
I second.
And maybe I could just provide a
Yes,
quick update.
yes.
So, Councilor Palmerman did update the name, but there was a reason this was being directed to the Minister of Emergency Services. But that minister was also, at the time when this motion was made, as mentioned, the Minister of Department of Natural Resources also. At this point, there are two different people. Minister Rushton is the Minister of Natural Resources now. So that's the need for some clarification there. Ultimately, there is some question about who is in the primary role here. So the reason the committee made this recommendation is because Emergency Services was undertaking work on the Beta Bay Trail. That work has concluded. So at this point, on an ongoing basis, we really need to talk primarily with the Department of Natural Resources. My suggestion would be that this letter go to Minister Rushton and CC Minister Maslin as just a slight tweak, and we did discuss that at Asset Management Committee today.
Yeah, they did the work that we were concerned about.
Yeah.
Before, it's like that policy when the PAC brought forward, both the trees that people were cutting down the trees and then asking for the permits. This is similar. They did the work and then came to us and said, oh, by the way.
So the amended motion is the Minister of Tony Rushton and copy to Minister Maslin.
Yeah. So if the mover and seconder are good with that, I mean, Brian caught the clarification in terms of the name. I just wanted to make it clear why that changes.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor, signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. I think that does all our committees. So we don't need it. We talked about each one. Do we need to file for information on certain ones, or
I don't.
we did discuss them all?
Yeah.
So I think that's completed. I have nothing under new business. And do we have any questions or comments from there's no one in the gallery?
Go check. Remember to go this way now. There's more room on this side of the table than we used to.
Yes.
And how many are out there?
7 people watching now. No questions.
Okay. Being none, that concludes this part of the meeting. We are going into closed session for MGA 22-2A, acquisition, sale, lease, and security of municipal property. Do I have a motion for that?
And the other one,
Oh,
MBA 222.
on the other side, sorry. 12.2 MGA 22-2E contract negotiations. I have Councillor.
What would you call it?
I think the one we
Consideration of a land issue.
Yeah, it's in there, municipal
under the
property.
First one.
It's acquisition of municipal property.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be municipal property.
Okay. All right, so moved by Councillor Palmerman.
Yeah.
Second by Councillor Carver, thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. We